You're listening to The Greg Kelly Show.
With me once again, Judge Richard Weinberg. He knows the law. Fantastic former Supreme Court justice, and he knows this stuff cold. I like that the Roe v. Wade decision has been thrown out by the Supreme Court. Judge, I don't want to ask if you care to share your personal views, please do, but what do you think from a jurisprudence standpoint about what happened?
From a jurisprudential point of view, it's the right decision, and people should calm down, should read the decision, should not get overwrought. The politicians should calm down and stop playing to their bases and to their campaign contributors. It's a simple decision. It said that Roe versus Wade was wrongfully decided because they created a constitutional right where there's no basis for the constitutional right. They created it under the right of privacy, which doesn't exist under the United States Constitution. They just said there's no federal right, constitutional right to an abortion. It does not ban abortions. States can have abortion rules and regulations and allow it. Half the states may allow it, half the states may not allow it. There'll be ample places, safe sanctuaries for women to have legal abortions. It's a state issue. If they look at the United States Constitution, which is the governing body that decides everything, the 9th and the 10th Amendments of the United States Constitution make it perfectly clear that which does not go to the federal government is reserved back to the states.
All right.
The states can deal with it.
Now, what about this? And by the way, I think it's great. I mean, I'm no lawyer, but the 14th Amendment is the amendment that says, let me think here.
Due process.
Due process. And also under the 14th Amendment, it's like, okay, if a right is not enshrined in the Constitution specifically, there's a provision in there where it says, if it's part of our tradition and if it's well-founded in the country's kind of mores and culture, then it almost by implication can be part of the Constitution, something like that?
Right, but this was the problem. The first case was Roe versus Wade. It was followed by another case called Casey. The Roe versus Wade created a whole penumbra of creating this right of privacy. If you read Casey and you compare Roe versus Wade versus Casey, Casey undermined all the reasoning that was contained in Roe versus Wade and relied on just what you said, a so-called due process right. But a due process right is not an absolute right. You have to look at the totality of circumstances, the context. And this is what's important. If a case is decided wrongly, for example, Plessy versus Ferguson, which said separate but equal school facilities are good facilities and constitutional, if you didn't overturn bad decisions and didn't rely totally on the rule of precedent and you set it aside, you made a good legal decision as well as a good public policy decision. Right. So it's important that bad decisions are reviewed and, if necessary, overturned.
All right.
Again, I would not have brought this case up myself as a lawyer, as a judge, because it inflames the passions. But this is not about inflaming the passions. It's about a fair reading of this decision.
So without getting all Federalist aside on everybody, and this stuff gets very, very arcane sounding pretty quick.
It certainly does.
So with that said, let me ask you this. When Kavanaugh was up for his confirmation hearing, and they asked him about Roe v. Wade, and he said, well, I consider that settled law. And I remember telling people who were about to jump out of windows because they were so upset about Kavanaugh, look, don't worry about it. Your abortion's going to be fine. He even said it's settled law. Now, when he said that, what did he mean? Was he playing a game? Was he being dishonest? Or is there a rationale where he could say that yet rule the way he did today?
That's an absolutely brilliant question, and that would make you the editor-in-chief of the Law Review.
Oh, come on. Are you kidding?
Okay, deputy editor of the Law Review.
Is that a good question, seriously?
It's a wonderful question. But the answer is, if one went back and they read the decision of Judge Kavanaugh when he sat on the D.C. Circuit, he had a checklist of about 5 different factors that would show when something that is, quote, settled law should be reviewed and overturned. In other words, you don't have a mindless, robotic adherence to precedent. And when you go through Kavanaugh's writings on this subject, and he was very learned, and the Supreme Court of the United States quoted him even when he was a D.C. Circuit judge, it's perfectly clear if it's wrongly decided, you don't blindly adhere to precedent, and you can overturn it. And that's exactly what he did.
So why did he call it settled law when he was asked about it?
Because that's a term. It's a legal term of art. So it's settled, but it's not settled forever.
Oh, I see. So he was being cute.
He was being descriptive.
Okay. Well, listen, I mean, look, let's face it. It's a minefield. It's an obstacle course, and they're trying to trap you. So when you're Kavanaugh or who else, Gorsuch or Amy Coney Barrett, you got to watch out for those traps.
By the way, you know who's the most brilliant at avoiding those traps? Was Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And Ruth Bader Ginsburg was known for the Ginsburg approach to doing a Senate hearing for confirmation, which is, I will not get into the weeds and details, and I will not tell you how I'm going to decide a case, because that would be wrong for me as a nominee to make a prediction about what I'm going to do. I'll deal with the case when it comes before me.
Well, she could pull that off in part because she was a woman. She was kind of spunky. She had a New York accent going for her, and she looked like this sweet, lady. And they weren't. I don't know if a man could get away with that. By the way, do we have the moment where Donald Trump found out that Ruth Bader Ginsburg died? This is a very impressive moment on television. And I think you're going to be able to hear it. There's an Elton John song in the background. This is in late 2020, and this is the moment that he finds out that Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Supreme Court Justice, has died. And then he walks off by himself to get on Air Force One. It's just an extraordinarily beautiful moment. And he would nominate and see confirmed her successor, which was Amy Coney Barrett. 3 judges, 3 justices, 1 president, 1 term. That really is something, isn't it?
It's historic. And the fact of the matter, each of those 3 judges that he nominated to the Supreme Court of the United States were enormously well qualified, great legal scholars, great judges, great temperament. They were good choices. And I tell you this, as I often, in full disclosure, I'm the House Democrat.
Get out of this studio. I'm only kidding.
I am the House Democrat, but I'm a moderate centrist Democrat. I believe in common sense Democrats, common sense Republicans working together, and I'm against the divisiveness that we have in this country today.
Yeah. I mean, to a point, I don't know. Divisiveness can be... I'm looking out the window. I don't see any riots. And 50 years ago, we had riots. This country was on fire in 1970. They were shut down airports. They were hijacking airplanes every 2 weeks. People forget. And sir, forgive me. You were I'm of a suitable age to remember.
So
you remember? Wasn't it worse back then? Seriously.
There are 2 things that always happens when you look back. It's either it was the wonderful golden years and they were better, or they were worse and things are getting better all the time. Depends where you sit. I say that we're in tremendously dangerous times today. There's a polarization I've never seen in my lifetime. I've been involved in law, public service, government for a long time, and I'm deeply troubled by what's going on. You have to have people respecting each other's rights, listening to the other person's point of view, trying to work out reasonable accommodations, finding common ground. Compromise is not a dirty word. It's what makes the society survive. This is the great lesson I learned in political science as a student and as a human being.
All right.
The victory on any particular issue is not more important than respect and civility for the fellow man and keeping the governmental institutions intact.
Civility for the fellow man is very subjective. It means different things to different people, right? Civility. I have to just remind you, 1968, RFK was assassinated. Martin Luther King was assassinated. The Vietnam War was raging. We were losing hundreds of guys a week. Kent State in 1970. To me, that was worse. You got these crazy hippies. Now, part of it was generational. It was the young versus the old. Now you got you got old people, you got Trump supporters, and you got non-Trump supporters. Is that it?
I'll tell you what, I most respectfully, you just undercut your own argument because it's much more dangerous today because it's not just generational. The younger generation may not understand the importance of economics or history or of respect for your fellow citizen, but you have institutions of higher learning that are controlled by a particular agenda.
Well, weren't they
different?
They were back then too. The campuses have always been liberal,
but not like we have today. Not with the blockading of thought and of speech and of language. You didn't have wokeism in that time, which suppressed the ability of people to think, to use language, to try to make an argument. It wasn't, if you disagreed with me, I had to call you a racist, and rather than debating on the merits.
I know, it's funny. Racist is almost a comical term. It means nothing because, you disagree. It's so sad what's happening.
You're listening to The Greg Kelly Show.